We have genuinely got to stop. I think collectively as a society, we have forgotten that art is not always about us. It's sometimes created from just the heart of the person who made it in the first place. Welcome back to the pod, guys. It's Tia. Hey. If you're new here, welcome to the Lovelies gang and welcome to Tea Time with Tia. Okay, today's gonna be very different. As many of you know, Daughter from Hell, the new Gracie Abrams album, just dropped. If you've been following me for any amount of time, you know I'm a big Gracie fan. Not like in the manic, The Secret of Us fan club sense, but as in I've been listening to her since I accidentally stumbled across her in 2019. So I've been around the block for a minute. This is a very, very different podcast episode because I don't normally stop to talk about my interests over the maybe wise philosophical thoughts that people think I'm sharing online. So this is gonna be a little bit different, but I still have some, I think, deep philosophical thoughts around it because I've been seeing a lot of interesting discourse online around Gracie herself. Now, disclaimer, I don't think Gracie's a perfect human. She's still a human being. She is still a Nepo baby. She is still a celebrity. So before I get into anything, I just want to get that out of the way. I don't have her pedestaled in any particular way, shape, or form, but she is an artist that I've connected with in terms of her art and her writing style and things like that, especially from the angle of being a songwriter in my upper 20s as well. All right, we're gonna pull out Wikipedia because I think for some of you watching or listening to this is your first time hearing who Gracie Abrams is. So Gracie Madigan Abrams is an American singer-songwriter born on September 7th, 1999. Her father, if you did not know, is J.J. Abrams, who is a director and producer in Hollywood. And you may know him best for ruining Star Wars. I have my own thoughts around that. That's a whole separate topic for a different day because, anywho, Gracie started out by being signed to Interscope Records in 2019 and gained recognition after her debut extended play Minor, that's around the time that I found her. I found her just before that. I think I found her right after she signed. And so I have seen all of her old Instagram stuff. So when she was just posting online to just see what stuck. And since then she has released the following albums and projects. This Is What It Feels Like, which that's a personal favorite. Rockland is on there, and that is one of my most played songs of hers, followed by singles like I Miss You, I'm Sorry. I think that's how everybody knows her, is the edits of I Miss You, I'm Sorry. Even if you have no idea who sang it, most people know that from TikTok. And then there was her actual album Good Riddance in 2023, which we could talk about that all day. And in 2024, she released the album The Secret of Us, which is how a lot of people found her and why so many people are complaining online right now. So that's also the album that has the song I Love You, I'm Sorry, which is another one that everybody knows. I think there's something about the personal journalistic nature of I Miss You, I'm Sorry, and I Love You, I'm Sorry that a lot of people just relate to on a lot of different levels. So I think that's why those are the ones people have connected with thus far. So let's talk about what I've been seeing online. So I've been seeing a lot of people saying that, one, she's a terrible songwriter, and two, that she is just leeching off of her father's success. Now, I have a couple of split takes on this. So first and foremost, if you're not a songwriter, I can understand where maybe the disconnect is because you've never had to write something musically into coherent thoughts that are okay to share with the public. I will say, as someone who is dipping my toes back into the world of songwriting, and I've been actively sitting with friends and family members and people with different stories that have turned into songs, maybe I process her music differently. But I think also in that with different music genres, we have to remember not all music is going to be fun, and not all music is going to be what we want it to be. I feel like Gracie does this thing where she is essentially taking a page out of her own diary and then repurposing it, repackaging it in a way that is oh, here's my public diary, and I'm going through this, someone out there might be going through this, Anyways, let's sit and cry about it together for a little bit. At least that's how I've always absorbed her music. And I don't think it's even just from the standpoint of being someone who writes music as well. I think that's just how I have processed different genres. Some music is just for fun. It really is. And other people who are the literal songwriters of their own music, I feel like have that more journalistic take from like they're taking it like out of their own life, sharing it with the public. Depending on how invested you are in that artist's life, you either get it or you don't. Now, that brings us back to The Secret of Us. A lot of people hopped on the Gracie bandwagon because of tracks like Close to You being super fun, or Us, or That's So True. Those 3 tracks, for me as an OG Gracie fan, felt like Gracie and didn't feel like Gracie because they were more like, and this is a really hot take, and Gracie, I am so sorry if this makes it back to you, and I mean this in the best way possible. It felt like a more industrialized version of Gracie. Now, Gracie has done pop for a long time, and this is nothing new. However, Us obviously had more of the Taylor Swift touch because she literally wrote the song with Taylor, which I do love because I've been listening to Taylor Swift since I was a child. Do not group me in with the Swifties, guys. I do not affiliate myself with them. I am like a 2006 Swiftie, not a post-COVID Swiftie. There's a big difference, and we can get into that on another episode. Close to You and That's So True, people need to keep in mind, were written with Gracie's best friend, Audrey Hobart, who has a stylistic take in music in general that is very different and similar to Gracie's. She has more of that like chaotic pop sound, which I also love. Audrey is just a very gifted songwriter in like expressing raw thoughts in a playful way that just like is like, okay, validating Crash Out and let's also dance it out kind of thing. You know what I mean? But Gracie's like, we're going to sit in my bedroom corner and we're going to think about it and ruminate on it and we're going to journal about it and maybe dance about it later. Right? So like there's very different takes and influences that came through on all of these songs. This feels so weird doing this whole dissertation because this is not what I normally do. If you guys find this interesting, obviously let me know in the comments, but those are my observations. And so I think a lot of people got into Gracie because of those 3 tracks and because of those 3 tracks being popularized on social media. A lot of people were making fun edits to That's So True's bridge. Yeah, everybody knows the made it out alive, but I think I lost it. That one, everybody knows that one, okay? In 2024, that was like the whole summer. It felt like was, well, I guess technically end of summer because like whatever. The timeline of the album, I felt like it caught on more towards the end of the summer, beginning of fall. That was how people met Gracie. I don't know. I feel like there's only 2 waves of Gracie fans right now. Okay, so there's 3. Maybe there's 3. There's wave number 1, which is people like me who accidentally found her on Instagram, like ages before we ever knew who she was. 2, there's the I Miss You, I'm Sorry people who like found her through that song only and that song only. And then lastly, there's the people that came for what Gracie has herself referred to as her manic pop songs. None of those are wrong discovery points, but I think people have very smaller, like much smaller snapshot views of her depending on when they discovered her. And I will say in argument, The Secret of Us has given people the tiniest snapshot of who Gracie is as a songwriter, as a musician, and her like style of production, if that makes sense. The Secret of Us is still a great project. I listen to it all the time. Personally, as a songwriter, it did influence a lot of interesting ways that I saw things in post-production and how I'm actually producing music now. I wouldn't say I'm directly copying Gracie in any stylistic way, but I think like the style of storytelling definitely influenced me. Great album. Solid storytelling. I think it's definitely a snapshot in her life as well. But a lot of people came just for that sound that was specifically engineered for that album, which it does vary a bit from her prior pop stuff. That was more hype and stuff like that. Even things like Bottom. Like I think about the song Bottom, and that has like more that kind of like slightly like cheeky pop sound to it, but it's still like a slow Gracie song, like a standard Gracie Abrams song. People don't know that era, or they've never bothered to look into it. So I think people came for like the vibes because audios were trending and now they're disappointed. So let's get into talking about Daughter from Hell. Before we get into Daughter from Hell, if you are a new Gracie fan, or you claim to be a Gracie fan, but you are like 2024 and after, I would really encourage you to like get to know who she is. And I don't mean that like in a weird parasocial way of like, go look for her in public places. An artist's music is not always for you. Some people create art when they are going through things in life, when they feel a certain type of way, and in some occasions, they choose to share it with the world. And that is none of your business. I think social media has given us this really weird parasocial vibe to how we process how other humans do their lives. And we don't get to see everything. Now, obviously, celebrities give us a little window perhaps into their lives, but even then, like, think about like some people in your hometown or your circles that do content or post a lot about their lives online. Even then, they're just allowing you to see little bits of their lives, little snapshots of who they are. And that's not them as an entire person by any means whatsoever. And if someone is creating something, and I say this as a creative, creatives are creating often from the heart, as I would hope they would be, especially like in today's society where you can just like quickly bake something in an AI format, or, you know, you can generate art, you can generate music, you can generate voices now. I think we have lost the idea of what art actually is. Art is personal. It should be personal, I think, actually. I would argue that it should be personal. Like, you look at old art, like from like the Impressionist era or, you know, older, and every time you read about how someone created something, it's always from like their perspective. And they just happened to share it with society. If you don't like something, scroll away. Literally, it's that simple. I'm gonna say this. You do not have to hate something or declare your hate for something someone created just because it didn't 100% vibe with you. I think that in an age where we're all so connected, and I say connected in quotation marks because social media is a false sense of connectivity, I think that we have this idea that we have to love or hate everything. And I don't think that's the point, especially with art, with music, with visual arts, videography, other things like that. It's not about you. Sometimes it's that person took a snapshot of their life, what they processed through what they're going through, and put it out in public. And that's not a you thing at all. I think we have gotten too self-centered as a society. Now, that does not excuse other aspects of like an artist's life. Like, you know, doesn't mean that they're perfect. But I think people are so strange for the fact that the moment they slightly dislike something, it has to be, I hate the whole person and everything they create. And I just think that is so freaking weird. Like, scroll, go on about your day. You don't have to like make it your whole personality that you don't vibe with the art they created. It's so simple. And I don't know, maybe it's because I'm older Gen Z and I actually know life without the internet, but like, y'all are so weird sometimes. And like, it's not just about this artist that I'm talking about in this video, but like for so many things, content creators, for example, I think it's so funny when people will be like, I hate your content, and like whatever else they put into the comment. TikTok does not know what a hate comment is. Actually, they will leave that comment there as engagement and not only boost that person's content more, but bring you back, because you interacting with that content in any way, shape, or form, even if it's like a hate comment, that is taken into the algorithm. I can't believe I have to explain this to people. That is taken into the algorithm as a sign that you want to see more of this content, even if your comment was full of hatred. So they will bring you back to that content. If you hate it as much as you say that you do, freaking scroll. Okay, rant over. Okay, let's get into Daughter from Hell. This is the actual fun part of everything. Let's get into it. I'm gonna go track by track because for those of you who are listening / watching this on Spotify and YouTube, just bear with me. I felt like I needed to do a whole video on this because this is a very important moment for me. So, Hit the Wall. Everybody heard this as the very first single that dropped. So, Hit the Wall definitely delves into like anxious avoidant things for sure, and like elements of mental illness. I would say I give Hit the Wall a 8 out of 10, mostly for relatability. It made me feel uncomfortable because I got my T clocked so hard. That is all. Moving on from there, Death Wish. Oh my goodness. Okay, been waiting for a studio version of this forever, for like maybe 2 years. I think that it's such a beautiful take on the song that we have this studio version now. I do hope that she releases like a studio recorded stripped back version similar to how she did it in her live version that's out. That version that we were introduced to, just her voice and the piano, just like basically in the format that she wrote it in, I think has its own magic to it. But the full production version goes so hard. Just so hard. The Knife. Okay. Wow. So this one, oh my gosh. Okay. First of all, before anybody gets on and is like, rich people don't have problems, you realize money doesn't negate emotional problems and like human experience, right? Like, yes, money does alleviate a lot of problems. And I know this, like, from having watched different people live different lives. But at the same time, it doesn't stop you from having a very human experience of like emotions. And we all have anxiety. Like, let's just say it. We all have anxiety, depression, traits, whatever. The Knife definitely talks about a lot of emotional wounds and basically like the choice to carry them / make them part of your personality or what you want to do with them. I think it takes a very specific person to listen to it and be like, this is good. That was me. Not because it's Gracie who wrote it, but because when there's that line that says about, hold on, let me click on it actually. I'll probably keep it for a lifetime. I'll probably name it, then care for and claim it. That just like, I think this is like pre-therapy, like a pre-therapy person's thought. And I think it's just such a clean take on it. And I love it. Daughter from Hell made me cry. Like the actual track Daughter from Hell made me cry because I thought about my own mother and what we've been through as a family. And with her hands, she held up our house. That line just goes super hard. And anyway, if you see this, I love you, Mom. Okay, Look at My Life. Oh my goodness. I have to say, Look at My Life is my favorite track off of the entire album because it just encapsulates the upper 20s crisis so perfectly. Got what I wanted. It doesn't sit right. Like, I'm 27 and a lot of things in my life did not pan out the way that I thought they would. And I also still achieved a lot of the things I wanted. It's such a bizarre feeling to be here and be like, whoa, okay, so I got what I wanted, kind of. Why am I still feeling crazy in the head? Genuine question. So, yeah, that's enough said about that one. Good Reason. Good Reason felt like a breakup song on different levels. Like it could have been a breakup song about friends as well. I still haven't identified what track is about the friendship breakup that she keeps referencing, but I feel like it's Good Reason. And Good Reason did hurt my feelings a lot. I'm just going to say that. It made me think of a lot of people that have left my life for all kinds of reasons. And yeah, leading into Men Like You. I had to listen to this one a couple times over to get it. And I still don't know if my interpretation of it is entirely correct, but I also perceive it to be partially like the friendship breakup song in a way, because it's talking about like this person that seems so far out of reach in a way, but like also like observing them in kind of a catty fashion. So like it could be about a man, but it also could be like the line says, girl, I know men like you. But not, I feel like it could be two different ways. It could be like girl, gender neutral, like girl, I know men like you, in terms of like talking to a man of like, I know men that behave like you, are like you, blah, 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 blah. Or you could be addressing, I know you're a pick-me girl and men like you. So depends on how you perceive that, but I love that that's open for interpretation. Maybe we'll get some clarification from that at some point. I don't know. Sober hurt my feelings on all the levels. It sounds like a situationship song, which really hurt my feelings. It was so good though. It really made me stop and think about my life. And anyone who knows me personally right now knows like, yeah, broke my heart. I do not want to get into that one. It literally hurt me on so many levels. Okay, Muse. Okay. Once Was a Rock, I'm Your Hard Place Now. Oh my gosh, there's so much. This one I feel like I need to listen to again and again because like it's perceived differently each time around. It just goes into so many emotional layers, and I feel like is also applicable to many different types of situations. It sounds like miscommunication issues and boundary issues, and I think that's very tea. Minibar we got as a live performance beforehand with, you guessed it, Audrey Hobart. Yes, the Besties in Action. So this is a very fun track, but it's also, I feel like people are missing the point. Minibar is a great song about feeling out of place and second guessing your worth. Like, literally, there is a line, let me find it. I feel weird, I think I'm gonna go. I feel like that sums up the entire song. So anyway, anyone who missed that meaning or is just like mindlessly vibing to it, I would say revisit it. It's a good one. It's definitely a good one. Imaginary friend, I feel like is about a false perception of somebody, especially like when you have an interest in someone or like you have a crush on someone and you've created this idea of who they are, but you don't really know that that's who they are. Like you haven't, like, you know, it kind of is like the summation of the quote, a crush is just a lack of information. I feel like that's what Imaginary Friend's about. At least that's how I perceive it. So Afflictions is one we got a teaser of on Instagram. I think about 2 months ago on Instagram from Gracie. I really loved Afflictions because this was a track, and this is where I'm going to do production nerd for a second. This brought me back to the era of her EP Minor. It just sounded like Gracie has returned to form. She has returned to herself stylistically, and that's the first thing I'm going to note there. But it's such an interesting like development of like stories that she's been telling, because there's a lot of callbacks to themes she's discussed in other songs. I just think it's beautiful. Just all of it, just I genuinely felt nauseated listening to it because it was just such an emotional experience. And yeah, I don't know. I feel like I don't want to say too much about it because I feel like everybody perceives it differently, but I love that one. That is probably my second favorite track, actually. Humming. This just really feels like it is a summation of the experience in your 20s. The feeling of being so hyper aware of yourself and society and our world and the state of the world and where our planet is going and everything like that. It's just like, it's all of that wrapped into one song. I would say Humming is my third favorite. So good. It's just made me like stop in my tracks, for real. It's so good. What If It's Right? This is definitely for all the people who second guess themselves, for the people who don't trust their own intuition, who end up in bad situations because of it, and are convinced that they can never make a good decision. That's all I'm going to say there. Just, you need to listen to it yourself. Okay, Cold Goodbyes. Well, I feel like it is, again, kind of for the second guessers, the emotional avoidance. I feel like that for me, from my perception of the album, this is one of the top like self-loathing spirals of like, this is the definition of somebody is in her head and cannot get herself out because she is convinced that maybe she isn't doing things right in life. Maybe she needs to cut some people off, cut some habits off, but she cannot take that first step. And she's not even sure how she's perceived by other people when she does these things. So if you heard all of that and you're still not convinced to listen to the album, that's not my job. I am not here to convince anybody of anything. And yeah, overall, 10 out of 10 album. I think that it was another beautiful exploration of her songwriting style and production differences from other albums. And I just loved everything about that. So if you don't like it, you don't have to listen to it. You don't even have to comment that you hate it, because interacting with Gracie content is only going to bring you back to Gracie content, and you probably don't want that. Now, if you're a fellow Gracie fan, hey, I hope you stay and hang out. We have a lot of fun around in this corner of the internet. We do talk about being an oldest daughter. We talk about being the only daughter. We talk about a lot of difficult life themes, but we also have a lot of fun here. And I also make my own music, so hopefully you stick around for that. But to reiterate my point from earlier, if something's not your cup of tea, it just isn't. You don't have to create hatred for it. You don't have to create hatred for something that someone else created just because you personally don't like it. You can just shrug your shoulders, go on about your day. For example, even if you don't like this video, get out of here. Why are you still watching, bro? That's weird. Just go on. Get out of here. If you don't like it, you don't like it. And it does not have to be a whole thing. So anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this very different podcast episode. I hope it was interesting. I don't know if it was interesting at all. This is like the longest podcast episode we've had in a long time, so hopefully it was fun. If it wasn't fun, that sucks for you. I probably am going to look back on this video in like 10 years or 5 years and be like, ooh, she was going through it. That's why she resonated with that album so much. But anyway, don't forget to go touch some grass and talk to real people. Social media is fake. I will see you guys again very soon. Bye, guys.